Hey YouTube! So, Trade Tuesday has started. Hopefully I'll be able to get this uploaded tonight. As you can see, I'm driving. I've just checked to make sure that this concept is going to sort of work. There's a really cool wee bit in the dashboard of the Mighty Panda, which I can wedge this GoPro in. So hopefully this will make it onto the final video if I manage to work out how to edit it and stuff like that. So Trade Tuesday, I was talking about it the other night. It was the original plan when I got my first YouTube check. Not check, but you know what I mean. First money from YouTube, I was going to buy, you know, a guitar and then trade it up and just do the thing, basically stealing the idea from Trogley. And I kind of, nothing really came up very quickly, and I sort of forgot about it and ended up buying 2 guitars for myself. So this will be interesting to see whether what the road noise is like here. This is me just going up on the motorway. So it might get quite noisy in a minute. I might just shout actually, probably just get round it. So I'm on my way to Alloa, so you're getting a wee mini tour of Scotland, especially if you're from somewhere else. As you can see, it's raining today. Actually, it was actually quite nice when I phoned this morning. I'm going to disappear behind the steering wheel here. Just on this on-ramp. Maybe not top quite just now. This is a bit of a joining a motorway, trying to be a little bit cleverer about it. So I don't know what the road noise is like in this car. Yeah, and we is on the motorway. And the motorway cut off in 2/3 of a mile to Kincardine, which is where I'm going. So Alloa is at the base of the Ochils, which is a big sort of mountain range, would you call it, mountains? The hills that are north of Stirling and stuff like that. So if you're not from Scotland, I live in the central belt near Glasgow, and everything is sort of close by. Most of the people in Scotland live in what's called the central belt. So I'm going, starting in Glasgow, I'm going to drive past Falkirk, the places you've heard of, just south of Stirling, another place you've heard of, to get to Alloa, which is a wee town. I think it used to be a mill town. You know, it's like it used to be mills back in the industrial era. Yeah, so I bought I'm going to see, I'm not going to haggle with it, it's okay, a vintage p.bass. Vintage the brand, black, white scratch plate. Not the most interesting looking bass perhaps, but a really good place to start, I think. Hey YouTube! So, Jelly Tuesday, it's amazing how quickly the time's gone by driving here. It was a 40-minute drive for me to get to Alloa, which is my first, I just said Telly Tuesday, I meant Trade Tuesday. So while I'm here, this is me going over the Forth. That's the Kincardine Bridge. This is the Forth. You can see we've got mountains and stuff in the distance. It's a bit drizzly today, so you don't really get the full glory of beautiful Scotland. It's amazing what this place looks like just when the sun comes out, when it stopped raining for a while. It's actually quite nice when I left. Yeah, again, that's me. Just picked up the bass. As you can see, I did the socially distanced thing. I think I'll just have to do a few quick turn here. Hopefully I'm not giving away too much where the location was. The chap, lovely guy, he bought the bass years ago when he was in a band with his pals, and it's the same story that often happens with these things. Everybody played the guitar, nobody played the bass, so the bass was sort of bought for the band, and then somebody, whoever was last there went in goal type thing. So it's never really been played. It plays absolutely amazing. I've not plugged it in or anything like that. I met him outside, that's why I had the mask on. So I'm just going to have to try and remember how to get home. I could put it into the sat nav. Lovely place, Alloa. Quite a nice area this, the big Victorian houses. Yeah, so what looks like a really good p-bass. I can't believe I don't know why it was so cheap and why nobody's bought it. Maybe it's just this whole thing about being able to drive and go and pick it up has made the difference, or maybe it's, you know, maybe it went on, you know, kind of Monday morning or something like that. It's just not the day to do these things. But I mean, looking at it, fretboard's a bit dirty. It's maybe like, it's got the look of a guitar that's been sitting in sitting in the corner of a room getting moved about a lot rather than actually being played. It looks like a pretty good p.bass copy, got a really nice vintage gloss headstock on it. I assume it's the neck here. Yeah, gloss neck as well. Nice p-bass. I would totally recommend it to anyone just starting doing the bass. Yeah, so this might actually end up being quite a long video. I'm really enjoying doing the video while driving thing. I don't think it's illegal. I'm not really looking at the camera too much. I don't really have to do anything. Might do my shopping on my way out. Yeah. Hey up, I'm back. So, I don't know, this is my first time ever trying to edit anything, so I'm not really sure exactly how this is going to work. But give me time, I'll get better at it. So I'm using my computer now rather than a laptop to record this. Hopefully the mic's working. The camera isn't quite as good on this. If it turns out to be noticeably different, I will swap over, use the other camera which is on the wall up there. Here is the bass for Trade Tuesday, a vintage John Hornby Skews product. Basically I've done nothing to it at all. I did cheat a little bit by plugging it, I tuned it up and plugged it in. Some of the strings were actually in tune. So what we have is a nice p-bass. Right, this up here so I can get the whole thing in shot. Yeah, so basically it's a p-bass. Playing through my after the end amp as usual. Tone off. I'll give that a wee scoosh with contact cleaner. It's a little bit crackly, but see the top tech tip here, a little bit crackly. See, just by wiggling it up and down a few times, not crackly anymore. Okay, still a wee bit crackly. Bit of contact cleaner will clean that. But even if you don't have contact cleaner, see, just using it. This bass hasn't been used. I think I've already said in the video when I went to pick it up. It's slightly crackly. It might not be coming through. Volume seems to die off quite early. I wonder if that's might be the wrong value of pot. But yeah, so the chances of the day after I decided, or in fact it was last night I contacted the guy, so the day after I decided I was going to try and do the trade up thing, that perfect bass popped up. This is a perfect bass for someone who doesn't have a bass or is looking for something to upgrade to a decent bass. It's a vintage are a really well known brand. They always get mega good reviews. Nowadays they've got Wilkinson brand hardware, which this doesn't have, so I think it probably makes it a little bit older. I don't see any sort of serial numbers on it. This pickup, the screws sticking out a little bit. These are all the things I'm going to do. It's like talking about you know, fixing them up when you're doing this sort of thing. I'm not planning on doing anything that somebody who knows how to use a screwdriver can't do. I do recommend getting, as I was talking about contact cleaner. Oh, this is the stuff I'm using. But basically, it's electrical contact cleaner. It's called. This stuff's for a car generally, because I think I got 3 cans for a £5 or something like that. I got them ages ago. You get stuff called Servisol Super 100, which is the sort of musician's choice, but it's basically the same sort of stuff. And it's amazing what it can do to crack like pots. I think that is the right pot actually. So I was going to kind of show you how to set these things up and what I would do to make it like a good bass. But see, to be totally honest, if someone handed me this, it's fine. You know, if you're having a jam or something, you handed this, brilliant p-bass. Looking at the action on it, it's pretty much perfect. Can't really. I'm not really going to even bother. I'm checking the truss rod here by holding the string down on the 12th fret and on the 1st fret, and then looking in the middle, and it should be like a millimetre off, sort of round about here, round about the 9th or something like that fret, and it pretty much is. So this one is perfectly set up. It's never really used. I might raise the pickups up a little bit. That's not a difficult thing to do. That's just a case of unscrewing these screws, and if I'm taking the scratch plate off anyway to sort this noisy pot, it's just only slightly noisy, but I'll do that anyway. Maybe, but to raise the pickups, you just undo these screws on the top and the bottom, and then it's normally sitting on a foam block. Sometimes it's sitting on springs, and you can just kind of physically lift it up, just sit it a wee bit closer to the strings. They're not far too low. It's just not exactly where I would want them. Yeah, so let's see how this trade thing goes on. I did lots of videos when I was in the car earlier on, just kind of learning how to do it, and I've cut most of them out, and just put in sort of little snippets of information. As I mentioned, like about six videos I did earlier on in the car, which I've just edited out because I kept repeating myself. I'm now going to repeat myself again, but hopefully they're not at the start of this video. Yeah, so YouTube money, first check or first payment came in 2 months ago. I bought the Blazer and the Laser, which I only realised when I was in the car that when you say them both together, they rhyme. So the Blazer and the Laser, perfect brother combo. That was the original plan, which I thought of, well, I've been thinking about doing it for a while, and a few folk have suggested it since then as well, I just never got down to it, was to buy, use the first YouTube money to buy a guitar and then trade up, Trogley style, to end up with a guitar I wanted. But what happened was I kind of lost, not forgot about it, but the right guitars never really showed up. I ended up buying two for myself, and that's what the money went on. So I got two guitars I really wanted, a guitar and a bass. I really wanted, when I was kind of going to try and trade up to get one, I really wanted, what I was really after was, I was originally said I was going to try and get a Gibson Les Paul of some description, so several trades to try and trade up to get like a Les Paul Studio, something like that, just because I'm not a huge fan and I wouldn't necessarily buy a Les Paul myself, because they're expensive for what it is you get. But if it's kind of this money, then it's not my money, it's sort of for the channel and blah, blah, blah. I don't know, I'll use that to justify it anyway. So the thing is, again, I've bought a bass that I like, but I've got a couple of Schecter p.basses, so I don't need another p-bass. There's too similar. It would have to be something different for me to warrant keeping it, really. This is a good, solid, standard bass. P-bass is the best bass ever. It's like Leo got it right first time, or very nearly first time. His first attempt, as I didn't have this pickup in it, and the scratch plate was this shaped. You see them had a Mike Dirnt signature, which had the scratch plate kind of comes up here, but ultimately the same. So that was like the 1951, I think that one came out, and in 1954 they changed the scratch plate to this shape. They put in the split humbucker, and this is still pretty much the same p-bass that you buy today, because he got it 99% right, and then just altered a little bit. He did the same with the Telecaster, and I suppose to a certain degree the Stratocaster as well. Just like first attempt. And also the best thing about the p-bass, it's not just the first Fender bass, it's the first bass as what we now know as a bass guitar. Fender decided that this would be the scale length. This is the body shape. Actually, the Stratocaster this body shape was before the Stratocaster, so the Stratocaster's like after this. And he just got it right. It's like you can play any kind of music on this. Obviously your Iron Maiden for your heavy metal, and then just everything else, it's just a p-bass. Perfect. I got a bass amp the other day from a Facebook guitar group. Someone was basically offered it for free. It's like not working properly, and I've managed to fix it. So I don't think that's cheating, because I could still, that free money I suppose was still the YouTube money. End up here. Oh, I've forgotten to mention, because I've done this video so many times in the car that I cut out. I keep forgetting things. It's like that's what happens when you just wing it. It's like that's why we're trying to do things in one take. I wanted when I said I was after a Gibson Les Paul to trade up to. I changed my mind and decided what I really wanted was a West Tone Thunder, because they're amazing. The bass and the guitar. I've never actually played a guitar, but I've got that one up there. Is sort of a West Tone Thunder. It's a West Tone. It's a slightly different model. But I really quite fancied the West Tone Thunder bass. But that area the Area Laser, is pretty much, that is pretty much a Thunder bass. It's more like a Thunder bass than pretty much any other bass you could buy just now anyway. You know, it's the same factory, 1985, same place, same thing, weighs the same. It's very similar, slightly different shape, slightly different layout, slightly different design, but ultimately it feels the same and is the same quality. So I've kind of got my Thunder bass without even having to do any trade ups. I just bought it. So this one, I mean, let's just see where it goes. Not really any idea. I'm kind of more likely to be going for sort of more normally type guitars. I would normally, I mean, if this wasn't for the trade thing, I would possibly buckfaster it, or iron brew it, or swirl paint it, or add pickups, or do something. Whereas in this series, I don't want to do that. I want to try and keep it simple. I'll fix it if it needs fixing. Basically, all I'm going to do with this, as I said, I'll try and raise the pickups a little bit. That'll take 2 seconds with a screwdriver. I will probably, I mean, I was going to say I'd clean the fretboard. It looks a bit dirty, but I mean, really, it's a little bit dusty. I'll take the strings off and give it a wipe. Really, it's got residue from a sticker in the back of the headstock, so I'll get the lighter fluid out, take that off. But apart from that, everything's just working fine on it. So if you're after a bass coming up, it'd be nice if I could swap it and get for next Tuesday. What I'm going to do is, just so happened that today was the day I got it, so I would have had more time to do the editing thing, and I would have made it a bit more fancier if I wasn't rushing. It's now 5 o'clock, and I normally try and get my videos out by 7, so I kind of like to get it done. I have talked for 11 minutes on top of it, so that's going to add time to it. But anyway, so Trade Tuesday, here we go. Hopefully I'll see what I can get to, going through whatever route it is to get there. So if you're interested in swap, if you've got a guitar that you don't use very much and you quite fancy playing the bass, I think I'll give the option of having it just the bass or with the amp. The amp's amazing. I'm going to do a video for that. I might even do a video for that tomorrow. I don't know whether this is going to be a bit of a bass week, because I've got this bass and I've got the Aria I want to do a video of, since I've just recently got the electrics working on it. I've not actually, even though it's been in a video, I've not actually done a video about what it is yet. And I've got that bass amp as well, which I've not 100% decided what I was going to do with it, but it just happens to fit in with this. And being a 60 watt 12-inch Laney, I should have brought it through for this bit of the video, it's giggable, pretty much. 60 watt 12-inch speaker, got a direct out on the front, so good enough for rehearsals and good enough for gigs. Maybe not like your super big metal gigs, but any sort of, I'm looking, seeing the after the end thing. The guitarist is very, very, very loud in that, or so's the drummer. But that's a very, very loud band, so you would have to DI in that. But if you're playing along with a sort of normal, like a sensible band that aren't trying to be Black Sabbath in the 70s, then the 60 watt bass amp would be fine. And it's kind of a better size. That's much bigger than I thought it was. I've said this before when I bought it. I did see that it said in the advert, 15-inch speaker, but I was kind of expecting it to be, sort of this size, sort of this sort of, and it's not. It's significantly bigger and deeper, whereas this Laney is the size that I thought that would be. Nice size, not too big for the house, but still big enough to be, even if you've got this thing at half, your neighbours are never going to talk to you again. So it's like, but by having the bigger speaker in it and a bit more volume, you get more headroom, so it sounds nice and bassy. So expect a for sale video coming up for this. I was going to say in a couple of days, but I'll probably just end up, I'll give it a bit of a clean just now. And editing, hopefully that worked. Well, it might not. You might not see this, so it might not work. Yeah, so that's like, well, I don't know however long that last video was. I just watched it there to make sure it worked. Sound seems to be all right. Picture seems to be all right. Yeah, so cleaned the fretboard. Actual WD-40, which is good for getting rid of the dirt on fretboards. I've never seen anyone else do that. I have done it before. I did it years ago on one of my guitars to make sure that it doesn't end up with a residue sort of thing, but it just gets the dirt off. Bit of Pledge furniture polish, wood polish on it. Give it a wipe, and then I ran over with the frets with this, which is a fret eraser. My pal Wayne gave me this, and you just give it a quick over the top. You can go a bit further than that if it needs. Well, you can't see it. Yeah, so you can go a bit further than that if you're actually having to work on the frets and you can get wee things. I've got one line there probably, like so. A wee metal fret bar that sits over the frets. I've got it sitting slightly low so you can't actually see it. And then you take a bit of wire wool, and you can, if they're really manky, this just basically makes them shiny, and it literally, you know, 30 seconds or probably not even, maybe 10 seconds of doing that just gives it just makes it shine, makes it look new. So what I'm doing just now is I'm taking the scratch plate off. I'm going to scoosh, I don't know if you really need to see this, I'm going to scoosh the that slightly wobbly pot. Also, I wanted to, as I said, I wanted to raise the pickups up a bit. Well, what happens is, because they're sitting on a wee foam block, tech tip, I got this off James May actually, have a wee box that you put the screws in. Therefore you don't lose the screws, rather than if you put them on the floor or put them down somewhere else, you end up knocking over and losing one. So if you just do that, it means that you know where they all are. They're all in a wee box. This is hopefully not too technical for you. Yeah, but as I was saying there, for the p.bass pickups, because they're sitting on blocks of foam, that foam's not, it's probably quite spongy when it's new, but this bass is maybe 10 years old, so that's no longer spongy. So when you unscrew the two wee screws to raise it up, you end up with it. In fact, actually I might lower that camera angle just a little bit, just so it's a wee bit more, the bass is actually in shot. Oh, it's spongy. There we go, that's enough. Ooh. Yeah, you can see enough what I'm doing. Normally I would do this out in the workshop garage. Yeah, and don't drop the screw, and when you do drop it, be very quiet so you can hear it land. I did find it though. So this is, I mean, I was doing this before I knew anything about guitars. Taking the scratch foot off is just one of the things you have to do. Probably didn't actually need to take the strings off. I didn't actually take the strings off, I just loosened them off. If you loosen them off and then kind of slide them off the side, you can get at the fretboard to clean it without having to, you know, undo them off the top of the thing. So if I take this off, here we go. The knobs don't need to come off. This one also has, if you look, when you get a new guitar, you'll have seen this before, you get cellophane on the scratch plate. So they put the cellophane on the scratch plate before they put the knobs on. So I might just undo them. In fact, just a little bit. They're only finger tight, so I'd be tightening them up anyway. And this should just pop off round the p.bass pickups, like so. Voila! And as I just said there, the foam that these are sitting on is compressed, so they're not quite able to get them lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out these two screws that are holding it in. 1, 2, and then if you've ever had windows fitted, or I fitted windows at one point, you get these wee blue square rubbery things, spongy things, to stop the panes of glass hitting off each other. These are really handy. If you go to a building site, you'll be able to pinch them. They'll just be lying, you know, they just get chucked out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these. I'm going to lift out the pickup like so. Okay, I'm going to make sure the screws are completely out. Take the pickup out, stick that in below it, which will give it a little bit more height. I'll just use that screwdriver to poke it under it. Stick it in so that will compress, and then being very careful to make sure that I'm putting these screws back into the holes in the body. You need 2 screwdrivers for this sort of thing. If I can see where the other screw goes, just to make sure it's going into the hole and I'm not trying to create another hole. Yep, in like that. In fact, actually, another tip, while I'm in here, I'm going to clean this bit, the pickup, round about the screw, because you can't actually get at it with the screws there. So that's now looking spanking new, and I didn't put the screw in the box there, put it back there. There's two different sizes of screw. You need, it doesn't say on it, you need a sort of smaller Phillips head one and then a sort of larger Phillips head one for most guitars. If you try and use the wrong one, you'll just chew it up. It's worthwhile buying the right two. I'll just do the same with this one and clean it. Yeah, so I don't know how much of this, I'll probably edit this in. But trying to clean round, I did the same thing with the screw there again. Rather than trying to clean round that screw, it's easier just to take it out and then give it a proper wipe. And it's really, I'm only raising the pickup up by, you know, a couple of, and again, just looking at it, trying to make sure I'm putting it into the same hole rather than trying to create another one. And I'm not using the same screwdriver, that's why it wasn't working right. Yeah, so the scratch plate screws are a slightly bigger screw, so that's slightly high, but it'll still squish down. I'll just do the same with this one. And screw that. That screw's not in particularly straight, but doesn't really matter. As long as it fits in below the scratch plate, it's fine. So this is the sort of thing I do with pretty much every guitar I get. I like it. See when you actually clean it right down to being as clean as it can get, it always just looks that little bit better. You know, just like you look at it, oh, it's not that dirty, but just having it, being able to get at the bits makes a big difference. So I'll stick another one of these wee blue squares in below this one, just by lifting it up, which it doesn't really want to do because it's a little bit. Just put that in there. Use a screwdriver to make sure it's central. Yeah. Like I said, the pickups weren't far too low. They were just, you know, when you're trying to make it as good as possible, every single little wee tiny bit makes it better. It's kind of the same with if you've got like a hi-fi, you know, just like buying better speaker cable does make a difference, and then slightly better connects, and then, you know, maybe each thing only makes a 1% difference, but they do all add up, and you end up with, you know, a 5% or a 10% better bass. And again, like the car analogy, you'll have noticed when you've washed your car, or when you've hoovered the inside of your car, it goes faster, it just does. Where's my contact cleaner? So I'm just going to give these a bit of a blast and a bit of a wiggle. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Oh, I was going to take out that plastic, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that. Pull out the pot a little bit, then peel off that bit of plastic that's always a remnant. Put it back on again, put the washer on, put that on. I'm not sure exactly how interesting this particular. I should have been doing all that talking at the start when I was actually doing this. That would have been a more sensible way. I'm learning. I'll get there. Yep, take off that stupid bit of plastic. You can't see it, it's hidden below the knobs, but still, just like, the fact that I know it's there is really annoying. I also used WD-40 to clean a bit. There was a few wee sort of stickery marks. WD-40 is an amazing stuff. It was actually designed. I'm really going off on a tangent now. It wasn't actually designed for what it is. I can't remember. Was it meant to be a waterproofer? I'm just now using my trusty Halford socket set to get the sockets that go over these, because it's just easier than if you sit and try and use pliers or something, you're likely to damage the guitar. So I'm just making sure that these are up nice and tight. It's very common for guitars, especially sort of more budgety ones, for the screws not to be particularly tight on these. And if they're too loose, when you turn the pot, when you turn the knob, the whole pot spins. And when the whole pot spins, you end up with, I'm actually just going to, while I'm in below here, I'll give it a bit of a wipe in below where the edge of the scratch plate, because you can't actually clean that when the scratch plate's on, just to make it as nice as I can. Yeah, so my tangent was, I think WD-40 was originally designed to be, I can't remember, was that margarine I'm thinking about? I think margarine was originally meant to be a waterproofing agent, and then it didn't really work as a waterproofing agent. It was like, oh, it looks like butter, we can put it on bread. So it's like, basically, it's like, after reading that about margarine, I was just, I kind of don't like it. I don't like the idea of it. It's like, I remember reading somewhere, or someone told me that it's like, basically if you take a tub of margarine and then leave it outside on a hill overnight, and you come back to it in the morning and there's no flies eating it, nothing's eating it, you start thinking, well, is it actually food? Because if you put anything else out, you know, any actual food quality, it'll have teeth marks in the morning, whereas Marge doesn't. Yeah, so I've now got the pickups raised up. I've cleaned that pot, gave it a scoosh. What I did there, I didn't really show you, is what you do is, when you're giving it a scoosh with the thing, is put it up to full bung, give it a scoosh, give it a wiggle, put it down to nothing, give it a scoosh, give it a wiggle, and then it'll be back to being fantastic. One of the good things about working on like Epiphone SGs and Les Pauls and things like that is you can actually get at the electrics without having to take the scratch plate off, whereas Fenders, you know, Strats and telly, not the telly, but the p-bass, like to get at the electrics you have to take the whole p-bass, the whole pick guard off. I think on a p-bass a lot of the time you get away without having to take the strings off to do that. On a Strat you can't, because it's got to come past the, you know, because the pickups are actually mounted in the scratch plate, whereas on this the pickups are mounted in the body and the scratch plate just fits over them. Anyway, there's not really much else interesting going on here. I'm just kind of showing you, I'm not going to bother showing you me using kitchen paper and lighter fluid to take the sticker off the back of the headstock. I'll give it a bit of a wipe, and I'll use the pledge on it to make it all shiny, and then I'll take it outside tomorrow and take photos of it, and that's really it. So I don't know how much edited this will be. It might be a half-hour long video, I don't know. Rock on, and I'll be able to hit the button first time. I am rock on.